Welcome, everybody, to the Keto Edge Summit, where we are dispelling the myths, overcoming the hurdles, and helping empower you to improve your brain and your body and get an edge in life through the ketogenic lifestyle. I'm your host, Dr. David Jockers, and today I'm going to be speaking with Jeremy Hendon, and we're going to be talking about hacking ketosis. We're going to be going through advanced keto strategies to help people who are struggling to get into ketosis, or maybe you've plateaued when it comes to your health goals. We're going to be going through that and strategies to help you break through barriers and achieve great results with your life and your health. And so a little bit about Jeremy. He grew up in Georgia, studied at Emory and UC Berkeley. He practiced law for a little while. For much of his life, Jeremy was overweight and unable to consistently find a way to get healthy. And that's a big part of the reason why he co-founded Louise's Foods, two health magazines, KetoSummit.com and now Cobionic.com. He's also co-authored multiple books, had his products featured on national TV, and has lived in 9 different countries over the last 5 years. All right, so Jeremy, tell us your story and how you got into the ketogenic diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, so my story was a bit roundabout, which probably isn't that unusual because I think a lot of people have sort of roundabout stories. You probably did as well. In fact, I've never actually heard your full story. I know your career and everything, but not your full life story. I was always fat as a kid, and it bothered me a lot psychologically. I had all the hallmarks of things that would bother kids psychologically about being fat. You know, I was made fun of, I was picked on, and so it made me not comfortable with myself. Although, of course, when I was like 8 or 9, that's not how I thought about it. I just thought about, then, I didn't look good enough to feel comfortable, like taking off my shirt at the pool. And then when I was a little bit older and started liking girls, I didn't feel comfortable enough to ask them out. And so it really affected me. And then I went to college, and because I was sort of free and out on my own, I got serious about it. And so at that time, and I'm a little bit older than I look, or at least I'm told that I look younger than I am. So at that time, I went to college back in 97. And, the internet was just in its infancy. We barely even were able to look things up online. And so everything I knew was still just what was written in magazines, books, what I'd heard. And so I started running. I ended up running about 45 miles a week. I started doing a lot of activity, and I also started eating really low fat. Part of the thing that a lot of people always find funny is my version of a healthy diet at that point, which admittedly was healthier than I had been eating most of my life, but was I would eat a lot of turkey sandwiches because they were very low fat and low calorie. But then also I started figuring out that pancakes with maple syrup were very low fat because they have so much sugar in them. And so I ate a lot of those. But long story short, I actually lost that my first year of college. I lost 45 pounds that year, which was great. And I had a hard time keeping it off for several years. It kind of bounced around a little bit. When I was halfway through grad school, I found low carb, and this was early 2000s. So like 2002, 2003, maybe even 2004. Found low carb, liked that a lot more, found that it worked a lot better for me. I felt better on it. Did that for a few years until I found paleo. Went paleo, but stayed very low carb. Sometimes I'd eat some sweet potatoes, but generally pretty low carb. And then found keto. My dating on ketos, I probably didn't hear about keto until around 2012. It definitely came later, even though, of course, keto's been around forever. So probably around 2012, found it. And since that time, my wife and I, Louise, we've been keto on and off. We're not keto all the time. We use keto as a tool. So we effectively stay paleo all the time, or at least 99% of the time. We were just in Japan for 2 weeks, which was not fully paleo. Don't tell anybody. No, I'm just kidding. But so we stay paleo 99% of the time, which is already fairly low carb. And then we'll go keto a couple months at a time, say once or twice a year, because we like the feeling of being ketosis, but we don't find that we need it all the time if we stay fairly low carb and use it as a tool. So that's what we like about it. And often we recommend people, think about it long-term that way. So that's my story.
That's
the most interesting way possible.
Yeah. And you built the metabolic machinery to where your body's able to be metabolically flexible. So it's able to go between burning sugar, burning fat very effectively. So that's the cool thing about the ketogenic lifestyle that we're teaching in this summit is it doesn't mean you have to be in a deep state of ketosis every single day for the rest of your life. It means we want to build the metabolic machinery, and we want to be able to prime that and be able to have that flexibility to switch between burning
Right.
sugar at strategic times like you guys are doing. You guys are really living that lifestyle, traveling around, going to Japan. You live in Portugal. So
Yeah.
doing it on the road. So
I completely agree. I mean, for us too, I'll do short fasts, like 48-hour fasts. I try to do them at least once a week. And so for, from dinner one night until dinner 2 nights later, I'll fast. And so I definitely go into ketosis at that time, because it's not like I've loaded up on sugar before that, at least not most of the time. And so I'm sure I get into ketosis. I haven't measured in a while. It's actually been a couple of years since I've measured my ketone levels, but I'm pretty positive I get into ketosis at those times, and probably even accidentally sometimes if I go 3 or 4 days just without eating any fruit or any sweet potatoes or anything.
yeah, absolutely. Well, if you're doing a 48-hour fast every single week, I'm sure that obviously those ketones are elevating up. For me personally, I like to do 2 24-hour fasts every week. That's how I typically do it. And I just feel great with that. And it's again, that metabolic machinery. And then I don't have to be as focused on what I'm eating. Obviously I want to eat nutrient dense foods, but it's not like I need to constantly be counting carbs,
Yeah.
because I know I'm fasting and practicing intermittent fasting, which can be really helpful.
Yeah. Well, the fasting for me, it's kind of like you were saying, it's not just about counting carbs for me, but even with eating nutritionally dense, even keto foods, I can overeat. I'm just good at overeating. And so I am a master at it. So the fasting for me, especially like a 48-hour fast for me, and I know it's not for everybody, 48-hour fast for me. So it means I don't eat for at least 48 hours a week. And obviously also the night times when I'm sleeping, but I don't eat for that time. And it also means that I don't really have to think about it most of the other time. If I'm eating nutritionally dense, I'm not going to make up all of those calories the rest of the week. And so, for me, it works out very well. And it's also just short enough that I don't hit the bad parts of feeling the fasting. Because often it's like the 3rd day that's usually the worst if you're doing a longer term fast, maybe the 4th day. And so 48 hours, I feel like just starting to feel a little bit of the effects, but not many. And so I love it.
Well, it's a sign that you're really metabolically flexible, because most people feel poorly the end of the first day and into the second day. So from my experience, by day 3, people, if you're fat adapted, those ketones are getting way up, and you typically don't feel that bad. So the fact that 2 days is fairly easy for you, not that hard, sign of really, really good metabolic flexibility. So that's really great. Yeah. And let's talk about what kind of results. I mean, obviously you have a website, you and your wife, you guys have been teaching people and training people on how to get into ketosis and producing all kinds of cookbooks. And you guys have done it before. So what kind of results have you seen people getting through nutritional ketosis?
Yeah. So we have for the past year been running actually tens of thousands of people through a 7-day challenge, keto challenge, and not trying to sell it. I mean, people can join if they want, but it's the thing about it is we've seen so many people, like tens of thousands over the past, I want to say 9 months, go through this challenge. And what's great about it is that pretty much everybody, it's only 7 days. And the reason we do it for 7 days is because we know that's a short enough time for a lot of people to commit to it if they haven't done it before, or if they need to get back on the bandwagon, as it were. And so we do it for that time. It's a really easy commitment, but man, the testimonials we get from there left and right, out of the people who go through it, we probably get 10% of the people raving about it. And it's not that the other 90% aren't getting results and aren't liking it, but 10%, for people who don't know, it's a huge amount to just randomly rave about something back to us after we've had a lot of people go through it. And so people routinely drop between, I think the average is probably around 5 pounds that first week for a lot of people. We haven't actually measured across the board, so there's no statistical relevance to that. But, on average, people probably lose 4, 5, 6 pounds that first week. Some people lose a little more. Some people don't lose any, because obviously people are different, and we're not tracking exactly how well they're doing, but they're losing weight. But then everybody, to a person, as much as they love the weight loss, says, oh my God, I didn't know it would be this easy. And oh my God, I didn't know I'd feel this good. Like all of a sudden I can think again. All of a sudden I've got energy. And I feel like in the keto world and the low carb world and the paleo world, this sort of talk gets bandied around all the time where people feel like they have more energy, they feel better. but it's really hard to understand until you've done it and gotten it. And so I know anybody who's watching this or anybody who follows you who has done ketosis, they kind of know, because they know once they've gotten to that point, 4 or 5 days in, and like you said, they're metabolic, they're keto adapted, they start burning more fat for fuel, they all of a sudden feel that switch over. And so when you ask me that question, that's the main thing I think about, is I think about all those people who just rave about the results, like how much better their clothes are fitting, how much weight they're losing, but mostly how much better they're feeling and how much better they can think and act in their day-to-day life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome. I see the same thing. And that's such a good idea, 7-day challenge, right? It's like you get a taste of it. And for many people, like you're saying, they're raving about the results. Seeing those fast results really gives them momentum. So let's talk about some of the challenges people are experiencing. What are some of the big
Can I say one thing very quickly there? So it's momentum, but I also feel like psychologically, it's an anchor point. So even after that 7 days, if let's say they go back for a month after that and go back to standard American diet, eating pizza and whatever junk food every day, milkshakes used to be my favorite. Let's say they just totally go off the rails. In their mind, in the back of their mind, there's still this memory, this anchor point of, oh my God, I did that for 7 days. It worked so well. I feel so good. And so even if they go off the rails, at some point down the line, they're probably going to go back and try it again because they know it works so well. Right. And that's actually as much what I want to give people as anything else. Because Marianne Williamson?
Yeah.
So she's very well known. A lot of people know Marianne Williamson. I saw her speak live one time, and she was talking about a time when she was younger. And she was talking, for anybody who doesn't know, she speaks about a lot of spirituality. She speaks particularly about Course in Miracles, which is a book. It's an alternative take on Christianity from the 70s. Really great, fascinating book if anybody wants to read it. But anyway, she talks a lot about this, and she's trying to get people to open up, to think a different way. And she remembers that when she was younger, I think she was in her 20s, she said she was talking to this guy, and she was trying to get him to understand something, trying to get him to see something. And she was getting kind of upset about it and angry. And then her mentor, after he saw this happen, he went to her and he said, look, he's like, he's going to get it, but it's not going to be today and it's not going to be from you. But he said that's fine, because he needs to hear it enough times over time, or experience it enough times to eventually come around. And that's how I view a lot of this. That's how I view you doing the Keto Edge Summit, people buying a cookbook, people doing our challenge, whatever it is, right? It's enough touch points in their life, enough experiences that they're able to anchor and make that psychological turn. And that's kind of what I get excited about, that I don't feel like it's often talked about enough, because people will look at something and say, oh, but they just did it for 7 days, or oh, they bought the cookbook and didn't use it, or oh, these supplements didn't do anything for them. But I feel like it's enough of those little decisions start adding up, and then over time you make better and better decisions.
That's so good. Absolutely. Anchoring in that reference point. And so let's talk about what people are struggling with, because not everybody gets these really quick results. Sometimes people don't feel so good. So what are some of the big challenges people are having?
So I'm hesitating for a moment, because I always rail a little bit against all the people who are like, oh, all of our bodies are different, everything should be personalized. Because while that's true in the abstract, 99% of the way that our bodies function is the same. And so everybody, for instance, needs a nutrient-dense diet. If you're not getting enough vitamins and minerals, or optimal amounts, then it's going to eventually affect you, because there are no human bodies that we know of yet that can survive without retinol or vitamin A, or survive without magnesium. You just have to have these things. And so I often feel like people go a little too far that way. However, it is true, right? There are some differences. And so sometimes your body is very broken. Like you said, sometimes you're not metabolically flexible. And I've seen people who are so far down that path that, even for a week and a half, it just feels terrible, because their body's producing no ketones, because the body can't break down the fat that they have. And so they're not getting any energy, and they'll feel all the classic signs of what a lot of people call keto flu, which is, they'll feel headaches, they'll feel fatigue, they'll feel a lot of different things, constipation. And so we see that a lot with people whose bodies are just metabolically broken from a lot of abuse, a lot of bad choices over the course of their life. And then other issues, other people may not be as broken, but they may still feel bad, because they may have electrolyte deficiencies. So they may experience really bad keto flu. A lot of people just don't see results at first. And that may not be because their body is metabolically broken. I think, we deal with larger numbers of people over, with smaller touch points. But you obviously deal with a lot of people, but you also deal with them one-on-one a lot more than we do. So I'm sure you see this all the time. I mean, some people's bodies just don't respond as quickly. And I always like to use an analogy. I say, if you had an old car sitting on the side of your house, and this car had no battery, no gas, and no wheels, then of course the car's not going to go. And you could take it to the mechanic. The mechanic could say, oh, look, your car has no wheels. We need to put some wheels on it. And the fact of the matter is, he would be right. But after you put the wheels on, you still have no gas and no motor. And so the car's still not going to go. And I feel like that's where a lot of people misunderstand what we have to do to make our bodies better, is that if you've got 4 or 5 things that are going wrong with your body, often fixing just one of them is not going to fix everything. And you'll see a friend who fixes one, a friend who goes keto and loses 40 pounds in 10 months or whatever. And you're like, oh my God, how did they do that? And you're doing it and it's not working. And the fact of the matter is, they probably just didn't have a lot of, they might have had a lot of other gut issues. They might not have had a lot of other endocrine, hormonal issues. And so I do feel like that's one of the biggest struggles people face, especially as they get older, especially as we see a lot more metabolic derangement, is that they have more issues, more gut issues, more hormonal issues, more psychological issues. Psychological issues are a big one too, because if you're really stressed or if you're not sleeping, it's hard to get results. It's hard to feel better. It's hard to look better. And so that's the biggest thing I see. And nobody yet has come up with a magic bullet solution especially for fixing stress and sleep. It's some of the hardest stuff. And so, it's a roundabout way of answering that question, but I feel like just a myriad of issues are what come up for people, and people don't often have the capacity or the help to approach all of them in a holistic, structured way.
Yeah, so true. As a clinician, I see that all the time. And, what we have to understand is dietary change, like something like taking out carbs and changing your fuel source from glucose to burning fat for fuel. That's a stressor on the body. It's a healthy stressor, but it's still a stressor. And if your body's already overwhelmed and not adapting to stress well, that could push you over the limit. So it's a really big, very, very important to get your stress under control, really improve your sleep, and gradually, especially if you are somebody that's really overwhelmed with stress, kind of gradually shift towards a ketogenic diet. You don't need to go from 300 grams of carbs a day to 20 grams like overnight. So you can gradually shift. That's okay. It's not a race. And that can be really helpful. Now, what are some other hacks? What are some hacks that you use to help people get keto adapted and kind of overcome, any sort of issues with keto flu?
Yeah, it's funny to even call what I think of as little things that help hacks, because they're sort of anti-hacks in a way. Walking, most of us don't move anymore. In fact, I'm guilty of this. We've made a concerted effort this year to walk a lot more. We aim for 15,000 steps a day. It's just arbitrary, but that's what we aim for. We don't always hit it, but we get a lot closer now. And it's funny to call walking a hack, but a lot of people talk about exercise, and don't get me wrong, I love weightlifting. I love a lot of sports, but it's just people aren't moving enough. And I noticed it in my own life. And, particularly if you want to lose weight, weightlifting or at least some sort of resistance training, very, very important for a lot of reasons, hopefully something intense every once in a while. I think we all sort of know this, but at the same time, we forget that you don't actually burn that many calories or get your metabolism going that much with those stuff. And yet if you walk, say 5 to 8 miles a day, that's a lot, because you're moving around 3 to 4 hours a day more than you are if you're just sitting there. And so I find that really, really helps. It helps me a lot. And I've seen it help a lot of other people a lot. And so that's the main thing I think of. And then the others are kind of anti-hacks too, but that is, I'll say 2 things. One is I don't have an answer for sleep. Sleep has always been my downfall. That is, I sleep plenty. I always sleep at least 8 hours, but I tend to go to bed too late. Now, recently, I've been very good about this. I've been going to bed at 9 and getting up at 5. So it's been fantastic. But, it's one of those things where even if you're sleeping enough, but you're sleeping late, we see a lot of people who just don't get as good of results as if they're going to bed earlier. And then you and I have already talked about stress, but one of the hacks for that, again, I hate to call it a hack. Well, I don't hate to, it's just weird to call it a hack, is you got to do some sort of therapeutic stuff. Whether or not you go out and get a therapist, whether a psychologist, or whether you go to a large group awareness stuff like Hoffman or Landmark or whatever, right? Or just you got to do something, because all of us have a lot going on in our heads. And most of us, by the time we're 20 or 30, have not been dealing with it very well. And so if you're that age, but particularly if you're older and you feel like you haven't dealt with things, like you're getting angry, and I get angry at things still, but I try to deal with it. I try to work with a therapist. I've done a lot of other training, and like again, it's sort of not a hack because it's a long-term thing, but it makes so much difference, and not just for your health and how you look and feel, but also for your just your well-being, your relationships, your career, everything else in your life. And so it's something that I feel like doesn't get talked. It's odd because you're doing a summit on ketosis, and I'm talking about therapy, but it makes so much difference in these contexts. And I feel like it's just one of those things that people have to hear, like, again, multiple touch points. So a little bit off topic, but those are the sorts of things I think about. And then there are smaller ones. If you are feeling keto flu, supplements can help a lot of times, particularly electrolytes, things with magnesium, sodium, potassium, chloride, things like that in them, because often you're deficient in those. It's not always the cause of that. Drinking enough water, but not too much to replenish, but not to force your body to go through too much water can really help. Taking exogenous ketones can help if it's very hard for you at first, particularly if you're fasting, but also if you're trying to get into ketosis and you feel like you don't have any energy, because they can provide a direct energy source for your brain, even if your body's not yet able to break down fat and metabolize that into ketones. And so, those are some smaller hacks, but I always like to throw out the bigger ones first, because I feel like they, in the end, make more difference for people.
No, you're absolutely right. Now let's go into exogenous ketones, because we really haven't touched a whole lot on that in the summit. So what are they and how do they work in the body?
So exogenous ketones, they're what's called bioidentical. That is, they are molecules that are identical to the ones that your body naturally produces. And so your body naturally produces what's called ketone bodies. And there are three types of ketone bodies. The most well-known one is beta-hydroxybutyrate. And what happens is, so just to go through the metabolic cycle for a moment, particularly the fat cycle. So your body stores a lot of fat, right? It stores, in fact, no matter what, you're always storing energy as fat, because you just can't store all the energy. Even if you're just eating pure sugar, it's getting stored as fat, right? It's getting converted to fat. So you've got a bunch of fat in your body. And in order to use that fat, it has to get released from a fat cell. And that's a hormonal issue a lot of times, right? A lot of people who are insulin resistant, they won't release fat from the fat cells. It gets released from the fat cell, and then it gets metabolized. It gets broken down into its component parts. And so mostly it's triglycerides, and it gets broken down into a glycerol molecule and fat molecules. And so when it gets broken down, one of the byproducts that gets created are ketone bodies. And why that's important is because every cell in your body needs a source of energy. Now, a lot of those cells can rely on fats for that energy directly, but some cells can't. So for instance, your red blood cells, your neurons in your brain, they can't rely on fat for energy. They just don't have the capacity to use fat as fuel. And so instead, what they're able to do, if you don't have glucose or sugar for them to rely on as fuel, then your body can use ketones as fuel. And so one of the things that happens, and I'll talk about exogenous ketones, one of the things that happens, right, when you feel bad at first on a keto diet is that you feel tired or you'll get headaches. It's the same way you feel as if you're not getting enough sleep for several nights in a row a lot of times. And the reason that is because your brain feels like it has no energy, which is also why when you get tired or when you're like that, you crave sugar and you want more things to eat, because your body knows it needs something to fuel your brain cells. Ketones can do that, and that's part of the reason, at least evolutionarily, why ketone bodies are produced in your body. So exogenous ketones are ketone bodies. They're just manufactured outside of the body, and then you can take them as an oral supplement, and they'll get absorbed into your body, and then your body can use them in the same way that would use the ones you produce in your body. But the reason it was important to go through that sort of fat cycle of how fat gets broken down is because one of the things you mentioned earlier is metabolic flexibility. And so a lot of times when people start a keto diet or when they start fasting or anything, going from a sugar-filled or carb-filled diet to one that's lower in carbs, is that the main way that your body is bad at being metabolically flexible in general is by not being able to release the fat from fat cells and then break it down. And if you can't do that, then there's no fat to metabolize, which means, first of all, you still have much energy to begin with, but it particularly means that you very quickly run out of anything to fuel your brain cells and your red blood cells, because you can only store a very limited amount of sugar in your body. So when that happens, then you don't have any fuel for your brain, you feel tired, you get the headaches, but exogenous ketones can shortcut that very quickly if you're feeling that way, because they get absorbed directly into your blood. Well, they get absorbed into your bloodstream through your stomach, which everything does, into your bloodstream. And then they can pass through the blood-brain barrier, and they can fuel your brain. They can fuel your red blood cells, even if you don't have any sugar or any other ketones in your body. So that's what they are, and that's how they work.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think exogenous ketones can be a really helpful tool for somebody as they transition, just kind of teaching the body, not only providing the energy source, but also kind of teaching the body that ketones are present. And that starts to rev up the production of certain enzymes that are utilized there. It kind of speeds up the process of keto adaptation. So I think that's really good. Some athletes are getting utilizing those for training as well. So they can definitely be a helpful tool for people. Now, Jeremy, let's talk about your 5 favorite ketogenic foods. If you could only take 5 foods with you, heard this question before, what would those be? What's on your diet?
So I knew you were going to ask me this, but I probably don't have all 5 lined up. So wait, are we saying let me clarify. Are we saying if I could only take 5, like to a desert island, I had to eat
exactly.
over?
That's right.
So are we factoring in like nutrient density, the fact that I'm going to die if I only eat certain ones?
No. We're just saying, okay, these are foods, like if you could live and be healthy, what would the foods that you would want to be consuming there?
So as you mentioned, I live in Portugal. I've lived here for 3 years now. Beautiful country, great people. We have the best sardines in the world by far. There's just nowhere else in the world that has either fresh or canned sardines like Portugal. And most people who know their sardines agree. In fact, I've sent some to a lot of people. I'll send you some at some point. We'll bring some back over. Yeah. There's one brand in particular, Pinhais. They do spiced sardines and extra virgin olive oil. And so it's not very spicy. So it's got a little bit of spice in it, but these sardines are the best sardines and they're so good. So sardines would be my first one.
You're the first person that I've ever talked to that included sardines in their top foods, which is awesome. They're so nutrient dense, omega-3s, right? Tons of minerals, really good stuff.
Yeah. They're fantastic, and I just happen to love them. But again, I'm probably the first person you've asked that question to who lives in Portugal. And
very true.
With all due respect to the sardine industry in the United States, it's not the same. The sardines here are just spectacular. In fact, the festival of Santo Antonio, St. Anthony is the patron saint of Lisbon. And there's a whole, effectively, month-long celebration in June. And most of what happens is people are grilling sardines on the street nonstop, but they're the big fat sardines. Oh, they're so good. They're fantastic. So sardines, I'm on a seafood kick. So the second thing I would say is oysters, particularly Pacific oysters from either like around Vancouver or Japan. I really, really love raw oysters. Also, one of the most nutrient-dense things you can eat. But don't worry, I'm not going to mention beef liver because I kind of hate liver. I force myself to eat it, but I don't love it. So I'd say sardines, I'd say oysters. I would say if we can do not just ingredients, but a whole food, I would say guacamole. I really, really love guacamole. I could eat avocados by themselves. Don't dislike them or anything, but in great guacamole, really, really phenomenal.
So much better. Yeah.
Yeah. We also here in Portugal have presunto. So presunto is the Portuguese version of jamón, which is the most famous cured pork in the world. So it's effectively like prosciutto. A lot of people know prosciutto, but much, much, much better. And they've got the black hoofed pigs here. So I'd probably take that. And I would probably take one more vegetable because I like vegetables. What would I take? I'd probably take some sort of mixed vegetable dish. I don't know. I like getting mixed vegetable dishes. They'll have like peppers and broccoli and various things in them. Yep. So,
well, there you go. And I know your wife is really into recipes. What are 2 of your favorites that you guys do?
Yeah, so that changes all the time. I knew you were going to ask me this too, and I was like, I got to give a kind of wealthy answer here because it really does change all the time. So lately, she's had this chicken bake that she created like a year ago, and it's like a buffalo chicken bake. That's really, really good. We make our own mayo to go on it. It's just with olive oil and stuff. And so that one works really well. I can shoot you a link to that. And ironically, I've been on, as far as recipes, our beef burgundy. We make a really good beef burgundy. And, it has a few carbs in it because we do put carrots in it, like a traditional beef burgundy, but not that much. And I still mostly count it as keto. You could leave out the carrots if you wanted, but it made really, really good beef burgundy. So I would say those 2 are my favorite right now.
Sounds good. There you go. There you go. Good stuff right there. So you can eat really great foods, as you can see, and eat keto, right? And be super healthy. And so what are some final words of wisdom that you have for the audience? And where can they find out more about you guys?
Yeah, sure. So the only thing I'd say is to approach your keto diet as a tool and holistically. And I know you do this with your patients. I know you do it in everything else you say. And I imagine you do it in your own life from everything I know about you. And it really is so important, right? Getting the food piece is critically important. I still remember when I first found paleo, I found it through Lauren Cordain and then Mark Sisson and others. And they were all battling against this trend that had gone in the 80s and 90s of only focusing on exercise. You know, you got to exercise 30, 45 minutes a day. And people did emphasize food, of course, but they'd overemphasize the exercise part. I almost feel like we've gotten to the point now where, as important as the food is, we might be not emphasizing certain other aspects of our health enough. Sleep, stress, mental well-being, moving enough. And so approach your keto diet as a piece of that toolkit, because if you just try to do that alone, you might get some results and feel better, but it's probably not going to work for you long-term the way you want as just that. So you got to build everything else around it. And that's my main advice to people, because as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's never as simple as just changing one thing and solving all your problems. So that's it. To find out about us, so our main keto site is ketosummit.com. And then we have Cobionic is our supplements brand, which is the main thing we focus on. We're starting to publish a lot more content on cobionic.com right now. So those are the two places people can find out a lot more about us.
Well, thanks so much again for being a part of this, Jeremy. You and your wife are just doing great work. And really, really thankful to have you guys here and sharing all the information that you did.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. And so for you, the listener, hopefully you enjoyed the content here. Would love to hear your questions, your comments in the comments box below. And we'll see you on a future interview. Be blessed.